This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the I Am Well Health and Wellness Virtual Summit. Tonight's session is on practicing mindful eating, and our instructor is Thu Huynh. Thu is a registered dietitian and licensed dietitian nutritionist for Giants Food. She was born and raised in Montgomery County. She received a Bachelor of Science in Dietetics at the University of Maryland, College Park, and is currently working towards her Master's in Dietetics Administration, MDA, from Utah State University. Thu especially loves helping the aging population, who that will be me.
That would be me.
Live their best life.
She's in the right audience tonight.
Okay, so you guys messed me up. Thu especially, like I said, enjoys helping the aging population live their best life. When she isn't discovering new whole grains to add to her plate, she's fully embracing the millennial mom life at her home and in Giant Food's nutrition made easy blog. In her off time, she enjoys watching her succulents and some others grow. So I want to welcome our presenter tonight, Thu Huynh. Thu, I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Darren. And I'm also very happy to be here. Good evening, everyone. Like Darren said, my name is Thu Huynh. And today we are going to be talking about mindful eating. So if you do have any questions or any comments at all, please feel free to interrupt me. I would love to make this as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and shout them out. Or I think there's also the chat box function, so you can feel free to type in your questions or comments there as well. So I know many nutrition webinars talk about what you can eat and what you can't eat. But today we are going to be focusing more on why we eat. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, we are going to start off in my virtual office. We are going to talk about what mindful eating really means, what mindless eating is, and we're going to talk about how this affects our food choices and our health. Then we are going to hit those virtual aisles where we're going to talk about some products that you can add to your cart to help support your wellness goals and how to shop more mindfully. And then lastly, we're going to hit the kitchen and see how we can tie everything that we've learned together and then be able to implement it into our everyday lives. So starting off in the office, first up, when we are thinking about food decisions, how many food decisions do you think we make in one day? So that can include what you're going to eat, or when you're going to eat, who you're going to eat with, if you're going to get large fries instead of small fries. So how many food decisions do you think you make in one day? Any guesses?
Hundreds.
About 200?
That is actually the correct answer. So it is 200 food decisions that we make in a day. And of those 200 food decisions, 50 of them are about what we should be eating. So if you think about all of these food decisions that we're making, you might think, little food choices aren't going to make a huge impact. But we do know that a lot of good food decisions has a different outcome than a lot of bad food decisions, right? So today we are going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about mindful eating and how that affects our health. All right, so first up, what is mindful eating? So in my notes, I had the whole dictionary description of what mindful meant. So I don't remember that off of hand, but basically mindful eating means that we are 100% present in our eating. So we are fully aware of how the food affects us. We can know when we're full. So it's being 100% present in what we're eating. So think about yourselves when you're eating your breakfast, lunch, dinner, even snacks. Are you being 100% present in what you're doing? And if your answer is no, that's perfectly fine, because many of us have lost that mindful eating aspect. So, we might be eating when we're working, or we might be eating due to habit. So I know back when the world was normal and I was driving around places, I would always have the habit of eating when I was driving. Even if I wasn't hungry, I would always, have like a granola bar or something like that, because that was my habit. But that's not being mindful eaters, because I'm not actually hungry. It was just because of habit. So the good news here is that we were all born mindful eaters. So look at this little baby right here. When we were all born, we were all mindful eaters. We knew when we were full, we would stop eating. I have a 2-year-old son, and it's crazy how even if he's eating his favorite food, when he's full, he's done. He's not going to finish it. Whereas I know if it was me and I had a bowl of chips, even if I was full, I would still keep on eating until that bowl was empty, because I'm just going to finish that bowl, right? So the good news is that we were all born mindful eaters. So we can relearn how to access these hunger and fullness cues to be mindful eaters. And there have been many studies about mindful eaters that show that those who practice mindful eating have better relationships with foods. They're able to choose foods that are pleasing to them, but also nourishing to their bodies. And it's also shown that those who are mindful eaters have less food cravings and feelings of guilt when it comes to eating. Okay, so this is just what I said. So the benefits of mindful eating: it empowers people to make choices in their own best interest. And this is because if you have ever, think of a time where you might have eaten something and you get that feeling of, oh, I regret that, or that wasn't worth the calories. So that's not mindful eating, because you eat that first bite and then you kind of keep on eating it, even though you don't necessarily enjoy it. So with those who are mindful eaters, they are able to make choices in their best interest. They also have, again, those fewer food cravings and decreased feelings of loss of control in response to food. Okay, so if there's a mindful eating, then we also have, on the opposite spectrum of it, mindless eating. So mindless eating doesn't pay attention to the amounts that you're eating. It also doesn't pay attention to your hunger cues. So you might, like I said before, I'm mindlessly eating when I'm driving. And this is, again, because I'm not actually hungry, but it's my habit. So there's something called the self-determination theory. And what this theory says is that we all have the intrinsic factor that tells us that we want to do good for our body. So we are always wanting to do good for our body, but those outside factors are what deters us from it, or what derails us from it. So think about yourself. Think about something that might, make you fall off the wagon. So I know for me, if I am scrolling through social media and I see somebody post like ice cream bar or something like that, that's going to make me think, oh, I crave that ice cream bar. Or if you're watching TV and you see a commercial for Popeyes, and then all of a sudden you're craving some fried chicken. These are those outside factors that make us into those mindless eaters. So being a mindful eater is being aware of those factors and being able to put those aside so that you can do what's best for your body. All right, so we have mindful eating, we have mindless eating, and then we have restrictive eating. So restrictive eating is not paying attention to your body, but paying attention to those outside factors. So think of those fad diets that tell you that you can't eat a certain food group. So maybe like keto or paleo or whole 30, or maybe it's telling you that you can't eat at a certain time. So think intermittent fasting. So these kinds of diets are restrictive because it's not listening to your body, but it's listening to outside factors such as time or food groups or things like that. And this actually does not result in long-term weight loss. So we'll talk about this in the next slide, but a lot of times, those fad diets look appealing because it makes you lose weight, right? But it does make you lose weight, but in the long run, you're actually going to regain that weight that you've lost. And in some cases, people regain more weight than they had lost before. It's also not the same as healthy eating. So healthy eating is a balanced diet. It's getting all those food groups and making sure you're nourishing your body. Restrictive eating is telling you to cut out certain things from your diet. And we need all things so that we can be our best selves, right? And then again, it's using those external cues that ignore your individual needs. So again, with those restrictive diets, it's kind of a one size fits all, but we know that we're all individualized. We need something more personal. So for someone, it might be okay for them to cut out carbohydrates, but for somebody else, it might not be okay. So we need to make sure that we aren't ignoring our individual needs and we're listening to our bodies. I don't know if you guys can hear that thunderstorm going on right now.
Yes, I can.
I thought the storm was going away, but I guess it's coming towards me. All right, so let's talk about those limitations of restrictive eating. So a lot of times I do have customers coming to me and telling me that, these diets do work. I've lost 10 pounds from it. And like I said before, they do work in that they cause you to lose weight, but this is because it's cutting out a food group. If you're cutting out a food group or if you're cutting the amount of calories that you're eating, you're going to lose weight. But the question is, how sustainable is that? Is that something that you can carry on for a few months, a few years, or the rest of your life? So many times these restrictive diets are only temporary. And once you get off of that diet, then you're going to regain that weight. Well, you're not going to, but in a lot of cases, people tend to regain that weight or they regain more than what they've lost. Restrictive eating also causes that all or nothing or last chance thinking. So my best example for this is around the holidays, right? So around New Year's, we're all making those New Year's resolutions to get healthier or to lose weight. And that's perfectly fine. But a lot of times we're doing this by, again, restrictive dieting or cutting out something like I'm not going to drink any more soda or I'm not going to eat anything with added sugars. The problem with this is that then around, Thanksgiving or Christmas, people start to get that all or nothing last chance thinking. Like, I know I'm going to cut out soda at the beginning of the new year, so I'm just going to drink as much soda as I can before it gets to that time. So that is something that might happen. Or even if it's not around the holidays, maybe you started a diet and you accidentally fell off of it and you're not compliant with it anymore. So then instead of, restarting your day, you might think, oh, I've already fallen off the wagon. I'll restart the diet next week. And then you go on that binge like eating behavior for the rest of the week. So that's the problem with the restrictive eating. Yes, Darren.
Yeah, I just want to say something. I recently learned that there's actually a psychological theory, and it's called "what the hell" theory that they use in psychiatry. And they say people will say, "Where once you've already broken or fell off the wagon, you say to yourself, what the hell? I've already had one slice. I might as well eat the whole pie."
Yeah, that completely makes sense. I completely agree. And I see that all the time. And I will admit that's happened to me before.
Mhm.
So it's completely true. Thank you for sharing that, Darren. Then we have the good food, bad food label. So, a lot of times we say things like, oh, I was good today. I ate a salad. But the problem with labeling foods as good or bad is that it makes those good foods seem less desirable and those bad foods more desirable. So if you're talking bad foods are, those cookies and cakes and things like that, it's going to make you want it even more. So we try not to label foods as good or bad. We put it all on the same label. And then that way you're able to kind of tell yourself that it's okay to eat these every once in a while, but oh, maybe it doesn't make my stomach feel good. And that's what mindful eating is. And then lastly, people begin to fear food. So I always say that food should be fun. A lot of our lives revolve around food, our get togethers, great conversation, it all revolves around food. So on these restrictive diets, you might start to fear food. You might not want to go out to celebrations because you don't know what food's going to be there. You're afraid that you might not be able to control yourself and that you might eat too much. So that's what happens with these restrictive eating. So we should look at this pendulum right here, and we want to aim to be in the middle. We want to listen to our body's needs. Swinging one way leads to that dieting or restriction, and then swinging that other way leads to that overeating and binging. So once you overeat and binge, you feel like you need a diet and you go over to that other side. And then once you fall off that diet wagon, you go back to the overeating and binging. So we want to make sure that we try to get ourselves to that middle of the pendulum and just listen to our bodies. All right. So remember that little baby before that was eating that watermelon? Well, this is our baby. She's all grown up and she's a mindful eater now. So mindful eaters, they're able to make eating choices without guilt or confusion. So again, they know how food affects their body. They're aware that certain foods don't feel as good to them, so they're able to choose better food choices. They're also less likely to feel out of control or to eat to cope with emotions. They're less likely to snack without noticing. My brother-in-law calls this a snackcident, when you take out a bag of chips and you accidentally snack on the entire thing. And of course, that's mindless eating, right? And then they're also able to feel more confident around eating. So, they don't fear food. They know what pleases them and they're able to control themselves. All right, so now that we know all about mindful eating, mindless eating, restrictive eating, let's move to the aisles and see how we can shop more mindfully. So first up is the nutrition gatekeeper. So many of us have the idea that we are in charge of our food destiny, right? But really that lies in the nutrition gatekeeper. So the nutrition gatekeeper is the person in the family who does the majority of the meal planning, the meal preparation, and the cooking. So if you are a nutrition gatekeeper for your house, your role is super powerful. You shape what your family eats. So I think the statistic, it was in my notes, so I don't know completely, but I believe it was 70%. I think the nutrition gatekeeper shapes 70% of what their family eats. So a nutrition gatekeeper who struggles with, dieting or choosing unhealthy foods, they also tend to pass those attitudes and those patterns onto their family. But a nutrition gatekeeper who's trying to get healthier and choose more nutritious options for their family and has a positive relationship with food, they are able to pass those traits onto their family as well. So the nutrition gatekeeper, you should choose products, of course, that you enjoy, foods that nourish you. And then I also added right there to shop with a list. I don't know about you, but whenever I shop at the grocery store and I am hungry, that is trouble. So shopping with a list really helps to keep you on track and to not buy, those random things that are those impulse buys. Also, having a snack before you go grocery shopping is a great way to make sure you don't fall off or get off track. Okay, So at Giant, we have two different rating systems. The first one is called Best for Me, and this is it's called Guiding Stars, and this is a Best for Me nutrition rating system. So basically, this is reading the nutrition food label for you. So I know, we're living in some crazy times right now. We might not want to be spending as much time in the grocery store as we once were, and you don't have time to read every single nutrition facts label that's out there. So you can be on the lookout for Guiding Stars. The more stars a product has, the more nutritious the product. It's going to have more of those vitamins, minerals, whole grains, and omega 3s, and it's going to have less of those added sugars, saturated fats, and sodium. So if you're shopping online, you'll be able to actually sort or filter out products based on Guiding Stars. But if you're shopping in stores, just be on the lookout for these right at the price tag, and you'll be able to see which products are more nutritious. Then we have our impact rating system that's powered by our friends at How Good. And this is a best for we rating system. So it's best for the planet. It's not a nutrition rating system, but it's more based on sustainability. So products receive 1, 2, or 3 leaves when they're environmentally processed, ethically produced, and one other thing, I forgot. But if you're looking for more sustainable products out there on the shelves, you can be on the lookout for this How Good rating system.
Hey, Thu, I just want to interject something here. I was in Pennsylvania Saturday or Sunday,
Uh-huh.
and I stopped at a Giant's Food, and I saw those stars, and I wanted a bag of chips, and it had a 1,
Uh-huh.
and it prompted me from the from the session we had last month with your colleague.
Mm-hmm.
It triggered a memory, and I was like, okay, I can't buy these because, one, they're very low on the nutritious. They only have 1 star. And
So 1 is actually good. So 1 is good, 2 is great, 3 is best.
oh, okay, so I could have gotten those chips. They were the good chips.
Yes, you could have gotten those chips.
I'm,
Yes,
I'm
so
gonna have to print it out.
products that don't receive a Guiding Star are the ones that don't meet the requirement to get that rating.
Okay, because
But
I
1
was
is
looking for
good.
something healthy.
That's awesome. And I'm glad that you were able to find that rating system. That's great. All right, so if we are looking at our food labels, we have a whole class that's about reading food labels. So if you need more information on that, just feel free to reach out to us. But when we're talking about mindful eating, the one thing that we really want to pay attention to is the serving size, which is up there at the top. So when it comes to our serving size, we want to make sure that we're comparing what we're actually eating to the serving size, because again, all of the information on the nutrition facts panel is related to that serving size. So say that the serving size is 1 cup, but you're actually eating 2 cups. Then of course you're going to have to double everything: the calories, the fat, the sodium, the carbohydrates, the sugar. So when we're talking about mindful eating, just make sure you're paying attention to that serving size. All right, so let's talk about some of the products that the nutritionists love and helps with that mindful eating. So first, of course, are fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables are super low in calories, and they are, I'll talk about it later on, but it's called volumetrics. So it has a lot of volume to it, but very low in calories. So it kind of tells our bodies that we're eating a lot, but we're not getting a lot of those calories. And my favorite are the ones that are pre-portioned and easy to snack on. So my whole thing is all about convenience. I feel like if it's not easily prepared or ready to eat, then it's harder for me to eat it. So Halos is a great option because they're just those little clementines or are they clementines? I don't know what they are. Little halos that you can just easily peel and eat like that. These mini sweet peppers you can add to your salads. You can just take it and dip it in some hummus for some snacking. Peanut butter is a great source of protein, so that's going to keep you feeling fuller longer. Canned beans are a great option. You know, you can add this for more protein to your salads, your soups, your casseroles. You can even bake them to make them into a crunchy snack. Plain yogurt is another high protein option when it comes to snacking. You can also use plain yogurt in substitute for sour cream, and it tastes almost identical, and it's going to have more protein and less of that saturated fat. Rotisserie chicken is all of the nutritionists' favorite. As you can see, it gets 2 guiding stars. And again, it's a super convenient way to get more protein onto our plates. Protein helps us to keep fuller longer. So once we're feeling full, it's going to actually be able to deter us from those cravings that we might have throughout the day. So if you find yourself being constantly hungry and needing to snack throughout the day, it could be that you're not getting enough protein in your diet. And then when it comes to our grains, we want to look for whole grains. Whole grains are going to have fiber, again, to keep us feeling fuller longer. It's going to have all those great vitamins and minerals and even some good fat as well. So Kodiak cakes is a flapjack and waffle mix. Has anyone tried Kodiak cakes before?
No.
No.
You've got to try it. It's delicious. And the great thing about it is that, you know, a lot of times with our breakfast, it's either low in protein or the protein is usually accompanied with saturated fat. So think, you know, your fried egg or sausage or bacon. So the great thing with Kodiak cakes is that not only is it 100% whole grains, it has added protein to it. So again, it's going to keep you feeling fuller throughout the day, and it tastes delicious. And then these
Now, too, is
microwavable.
that a prepared?
So it's
Is that a prepared cake? Or
no, it's like pancake mix. So you still have
Okay,
to add
okay,
like water or milk to
okay.
it, and then yeah. And then we have microwavable grains. So I love this option because, again, it's super convenient. It cooks in 90 seconds in your microwave, but it's also great if you're trying something new. So maybe you've never tried quinoa before and you want to taste it, but you don't want to buy the entire package because what if you don't like it? Then what are you going to do with the rest of it? So this is a great way to try a new grain. You can add it to your salads to make it a grain bowl, or you can eat it as a side for dinner or for lunch. Okay, then we can't talk about mindful eating without those sweets and treats. So for me, mindful eating is the hardest when it comes to snacking. I don't know if it's like that salt, that sugar, or the crispiness, but it's always snacking that's the hardest when it comes to mindful eating. So these are some products that are out there on the shelves that can help you, you know, satisfy that sweet or savory tooth that you might have, but not go overboard. So Solero popsicles are made with fruit that was picked at its peak ripeness. So it's going to have all those vitamins and minerals still intact. And each pop, I think, is only like 50 calories-ish. Then there's also enlightened ice cream bars. These are made by the same people who make Halo Top ice cream. So if you like Halo Top ice cream, you'll probably like these as well. And they have regular dairy ice cream bars or non-dairy as well, and lots of different flavors. And each bar is maybe like 90-ish calories or less. Then we have Sun Chips. Sun Chips is whole grains. So if you're looking for a healthy snack or a healthy chip to snack on, you can try Sun Chips. Late July tortilla chips are a great option because they have chia and quinoa added to it. So it's going to have a little bit more fiber and protein. And then we have dark chocolate hummus. Has anyone tried chocolate hummus?
No.
No.
So I was completely skeptical as well. I was like, that's kind of disgusting, but it's actually delicious. You have to give it a try. I love to dip strawberries in it, and it tastes like a chocolate covered strawberry. You can also do pretzels, but give it a try. They also have, I think, a vanilla flavor, which I haven't tried, but I heard it tastes like frosting. But because it is hummus, it's going to be higher in protein and higher in fiber as well. And then last but not least, we have chocolate covered almonds, or really any dark chocolate covered nut. Those nuts are going to have those heart healthy fats. They're also going to be a great source of protein to keep you, again, fuller longer. And then that dark chocolate is going to satisfy that sweet tooth, but it's also going to have some antioxidants in it as well. So that's a nice treat that you can look forward to. And then our hand-picked item for the month is Dole, and Dole has some great products out there. They have frozen fruits that you can add to smoothies. If you're a smoothie drinker or you want something, you know, refreshing on a hot day that we're gonna have later on in this week, acai bowls are delicious. It's basically kind of like a smoothie bowl, but with toppings. So it's kind of like a sweet treat. And then they also have smoothie blends, so you can try that as well. And then, of course, our drinks, because mindful eating is not just about eating food, but it's also about what we drink. So if we have any alcohol lovers or people who like to drink alcohol out there, hard seltzers are a great choice. They're going to be lower in carbohydrates, a little bit lower in sugar, and they're going to be about like 100 calories per can. So you can try hard seltzers as an option. La Colombe iced coffee is cold pressed coffee. They sell this in the refrigerated section. They have different flavors like this pure black and white. They have, you know, just black, and they have some with flavors. But each can has the equivalent to 2¼ cups of coffee. So it has a lot of caffeine in it, and it's not going to be high in calories. You know, if you're looking at other canned coffee brands out there on the shelves, they can be like 200 calories and loaded with sugar. So La Colombe is a great option. Then we have Shaka, which is a Hawaiian mamaki tea. So this is iced tea that's sweetened with monk fruit. So it's not going to have a lot of added sugar to it. And then I have here Silly Cow Farms hot chocolate. And this one I added here because it's free of like the top 8 allergens. So, you know, those who might have dairy or soy or other food allergies, this is a great option for them. All right, so now that we know what mindful eating is, we know some products that are out there that we can add to our cart. Let's talk about how we can apply it to our everyday lives with 5 easy steps. I think it's 5. All right, so the first one is to strive for balance. So when we are eating mindfully, we are getting all of the food groups that we need onto our plate. And this is easiest by following my plate. So if you see right here on this slide, my plate is saying that half of what we're eating should be fruits and vegetables. 1/4 of our plate should be grains, and 1/4 of our plate should be lean protein. We also have that dairy up there, but dairy also has protein. So if you're drinking milk or eating cheese or eating yogurt, you can always put that in that protein section as well. But when we're looking at our fruits and vegetables, canned, fresh, and frozen all count. So all of them have the nutritional benefits that you need. Of course, with canned, we want to look for those low sodium or no salt added versions, or those fruits that are in their own fruit juice. Yeah, so we want to make sure that half of our plate are fruits and vegetables. Then 1/4 of our plate, preferably those whole grains for the fiber, for the protein, and then 1/4 of our plate lean protein. So look for sources such as 90% lean ground beef, chicken breasts, turkey, and then our plant-based options such as tofu or beans or edamame or soy. Those are some great protein options.
So what about the oat milks or the soy milks or the nut milks?
Mm-hmm.
Where do they fall into the category?
That's a good question. It depends on who you're asking because some people will say that it's dairy and some people will say that it's not dairy. But when it comes to those plant-based milks, that's a great opportunity to read those nutrition facts labels. A lot of times people replace, their traditional milk with almond milk, but almond milk has almost 0 grams of protein. So if you're looking to add more protein to your diet, then almond milk is not what you would want to look for. So of course the plant-based milks have room on the plate, but again, it's an opportunity to look at the food label.
Okay, thank you.
Hmm.
Sue, what about
Two,
the impossible beef or that incognito chicken, or where do they fall in terms of nutritional value?
Great question. So those plant-based meats would count towards that protein section because they're very high in protein. Um, but that's a great question because you still want to look at those nutrition facts label. A lot of times, those Impossible burgers, they have the exact same nutritional profile as a regular burger. So it's not going to have less saturated fat. It's not going to have less sodium. If you're talking more about the environment and eating more sustainably, then that would have a bit better impact. But if you're talking nutritionally, it's about the same.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
was wondering because in my brain, I see that as being processed,
Hmm.
as
It's
as
highly processed.
right, as opposed to like grass-fed beef
Yeah,
or grass-fed chickens or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Um, so on the one hand, it's trying to get you to eat plant-based, but all the additives take away the value of the plant-based that they advertise.
Right,
Is
yeah.
that accurate?
Yeah, that's completely accurate. The only other thing I will say though is that it's a great option for maybe vegetarians or maybe somebody who, can't eat these certain foods. Like I know they have plant-based seafood. They have like plant-based like fish and crabs. Um, so it's a good way for those who may have a shellfish allergy to try these things that they've never been able to try before. But like you said, nutritionally, they're exactly the same and they are a very highly processed food.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so step 2 is to pay attention to those external factors. So the first thing is to see your food. Many times, if we're not seeing the food that we're eating, we can actually overeat. So it's actually better to plate how much you're going to eat and eat that than to do a small portion and then go back for seconds. You're actually going to eat more if you do that. So see your food. Think about if you're eating at a all you can eat buffet. You'll probably be eating more than you typically would because you don't see all the food that you're eating at one time. Next, tablescape for success. So here, you want to try to choose or stock up your kitchen with smaller plates, smaller bowls, tall glasses, because mashed potatoes on a 8-inch plate is going to look a lot more than on a 12-inch plate, right? So you're kind of able to trick your mind into thinking that it's eating more. And what's interesting is that our bodies actually value volume over calories. So your body doesn't really care how many calories you're eating. It cares more about how much you're eating. So knowing this, if your body wants to eat more, fill your plate with those low calorie options. So more of those fruits and vegetables. And that way your body is going to think that you're eating more, but you're not going to be getting all those calories. Then make it hard to be mindless. So don't leave things just out there because when it's in sight, it's in mind. When it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So think about, maybe back when you were in the office, that candy dish that was always there. Or I know if I make a plate of cookies and I leave it on the table or on the island, they're going to be gone because people, even if you're not hungry, you're going to reach and eat some. So make it hard to be mindless. Put it away, put it in the pantry, and then that way you're not going to always be seeing it and just pick a piece whenever you see it. And then lastly, unplug. So try not to eat while you're at the computer or in front of the TV or on your phone, because this is going to stop you from being fully present in what you're eating and how you're feeling. So as much as you can, try to unplug from that technology and really pay attention to what you're eating. All right, so that was looking at those external factors. Now let's look at those internal factors. So step number 3 is to practice mindfulness by paying attention to those internal factors. So the first thing I'm sure many of you have heard is to eat slow, right? Slow down your pace. It takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain that it's full. So if you're eating at a super fast pace, I don't know if it's happened to you before, but it's happened to me. All of a sudden, you're like, whoa, I'm full. And that's because you might have been eating too fast and you haven't been giving your brain enough time to process how full you are. There's also a saying called the banquet is in the first bite. Has anyone heard this saying before? So what this means is that first bite of whatever you're eating is going to be the best, most pleasurable bite. And every bite after that is going to be less fulfilling. But as it gets less fulfilling, you're just getting more calories. So the banquet is in the first bite. Savor that first bite and continue paying attention to how you're feeling while you're eating. And then maybe stop when you start getting to that point of it not bringing you pleasure anymore. And then, of course, use your senses. So sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. Use all your senses while you're eating to make sure that you are being fully mindful and present in your eating experience. Okay, then step number 4 is to understand your hunger. Oh, right, there you go. It's to understand your hunger. So there's a thing called physical hunger, and then there's emotional hunger. And I'm sure all of us have experienced this before. So physical hunger is when we're actually hungry, right? And you can tell this because that feeling, it starts below the neck. It usually happens, maybe 2 or 3 hours after you already ate. It comes on kind of slowly. It's gradual. It starts to build up. That's physical hunger. And then once you eat, you feel satisfied and you don't have any feelings of guilt. Then we have emotional hunger, which is really hard when it comes to mindful eating. So emotional hunger, people say they usually feel it developing above their neck. It usually develops really quickly. And once you eat, then you are still wanting to eat more. And it usually ends up in that guilty feeling. And it doesn't matter if you just ate or what time of day it is. That's usually that emotional hungry. It's usually associated with, either boredom or stress or any other emotion. So make sure that you pay attention to your body and that you can differentiate between that physical hunger and that emotional hunger. Then you can use this scale right here to see if where you fit on the hunger scale. So we want to make sure that we don't get to that 1 or 2 before we start eating. If we get to that 1 or 2 where we're very hungry, we might be getting hangry, that's when we start to eat. And we might go a little bit crazy, right? We might be eating too much and really fast, and so we don't want to wait until we're at that 1 or 2. We want to aim for that 3 to 6 range on the scale. And then maybe stop eating when you get to that 5 or 6. You don't want to stop eating when you get to 7 or higher, because that's when we start developing that sense of guilt. All right, and then our last step is to cook at home more. So cooking at home more is a really great way to practice mindful eating. And this is because you are 100% in control of your food choices and what you make. So you can plate your own food. You know, a lot of times when we're going out to eat, those portion sizes are ginormous. So eating at home, you can plate how much you want to put on. You can choose how it's made, so you can avoid those ingredients that might cause you some discomfort. You can also experiment with new flavors and new foods, so you can expand your palate and see things that brings pleasure to you, and then you can find out what you like and dislike. And before we wrap up our webinar, I do want to end with a little slide about giving yourself grace. So learning to be mindful, it takes time. It's something that you have to constantly practice and constantly be aware of. So if you don't get it right away, don't feel like you fell off the wagon and do that what the hell thinking. Just know that it takes time. Don't expect perfection. You want to be aware of your triggers. So we talked about this at the beginning. Know what makes you get triggered to stop that mindful eating. Maybe it's social media or a commercial. Maybe it's even a friend or a relative who's always talking about the newest diet that they're on. So be aware of the triggers. And then also remember to keep those 200 decisions that you make a day about food in mind. So remember, 200 good decisions has a huge difference than 200 bad decisions. All right, so just a couple of ways that you can connect with us nutritionists before we end. So if you go to our website, giantfood.com/nutrition, you can find nutritionists for a free one-on-one consultation. You can find more classes. You can also find our blogs and our podcasts. If you're on Facebook, make sure you join our Healthy Living by Giant Facebook group, where all of the nutritionists always post inspiration. We have a great community where people also talk about, what they're growing in their garden and things like that. It's a lot of fun. And then if you're a podcast listener, make sure you check out our podcast, Nutrition Made Easy. You can find it online or on your smartphone app. And we have so many different episodes. If you enjoyed this mindful eating webinar, we have an episode about mindful eating. We have what's trending in the aisles, so many different episodes out there. So make sure you check that out. All right, and that's all that I have for you tonight. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I did have a question too. For canned beans, because of the sodium that they put in it to preserve it, are you really eating a more nutritious product if you rinse the beans versus leaving the juice in the
Right.
beans?
Yeah, great question. So we always want to look for low sodium or no salt added versions. If you don't find that, rinsing it is a great option. Rinsing actually reduces the salt content by 40%. So if you can't find that low sodium or no salt added, rinsing it is great.
Great, thank you. I don't know if you guys hear that, but that thunderstorm has reached here.
Oh,
Yes, it
it got to
has.
you.
Yeah,
Yes, it
and the lightning is flashing, the thunder is roaring. It
was
traveled real
everybody
quick.
mentioning? Yes, it sure did.
Oh, I think
I just about jumped off the offline because that thunder hit hard.
it's a really big storm because it's still on me.
It's-
Did
it-
anyone else have any other questions?
I think, the last bit of advice where it takes practice to be mindful. Too, I think that was really good because uh, we are more conditioned to be mindless eaters because we're all running and we have so many distractions throughout the day that
Yes,
we are probably mindless most of our day in everything that we do, which is why mindfulness has become such a big topic.
right.
So it takes practice. So
I completely agree. And I'll admit that I'm still practicing mindful eating, and I'm a dietitian. So exactly, everyone needs to give themselves grace. We're all human. So it does take a lot of practice and it takes time.
But what if you're not that person that thinks about food 200 times a day or makes a decision about food 200 times a day, and you actually forget about eating? If you, like with me, if I get involved in something, I don't get hungry and I don't get thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about food maybe once a day.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's a great point that you bring up, because that's kind of like the opposite side, right? So a lot of times when we're thinking of mindful eating, we're thinking of overeating, not under eating. But that's also where we need to pay attention to that mindful eating, because like you said, you're really busy that you forget to eat or you forget to drink. And part of mindful eating is listening to your body. It's listening to your body and what it needs, because I'm sure as soon as you sit down and you take a breather, then you might be like, oh, I need to eat. So it's being able to realize that your body needs those nutrients. So maybe you can, set an alarm on your phone, or something like that to remind you that you need to eat or need to drink.
You couldn't tell that I don't think about eating by looking at my weight, because my weight says you must be eating all the time.
You're not burning energy. If you're not eating, your body isn't burning the fat that you need it to burn, the bad fat.
Yeah,
It's
it gets into that
even though it's feeding,
conservation mode.
right?
So yeah, agree. Set a reminder, post it. You know, every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Let me check my body or whatever it might be. And you might have to, you try it and you might have to keep tweaking it to get into that right routine. But your body is actually, whether you're consciously, your body needs the food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it does, but I don't get hungry. Very seldom do I get hungry. And I guess because I'm around people that love food, and it does the opposite for me.
It just makes you sick. Huh? I don't want
Yeah,
to.
right?
Yeah. That's that, kind of what I call it, the Thanksgiving experience, when you're around people and they're piling all the food on their plate and you're looking and going, oh man, that's making me sick.
It's crazy.
Anyone else? Any other questions? No?
Everybody listening to that thunder? Because
Yeah.
it made its way over here.
Wow.
All of you are too scared to talk.
No, I'm
Okay.
excited to try those enlightened bars. I'm
Yeah,
going to check those
definitely.
out.
Yeah, I want to try actually the chocolate hummus.
Yes, try it. I'm telling you, it's pretty good.
Mitchell,
I
what you
would
say you gonna try?
The
Mitchell,
enlightened bars?
that she talked
The
about
enlightened
earlier?
bars? Yes.
Just like
Because
the
I like
popsicle?
ice cream periodically, but it seems like it's a low calorie, low fat option.
Oh, now that I might want to try. I'm not sure about the hummus yet. I'm not that.
Yeah, I'm not
Courageous?
that brave, and I'm not that courageous. I don't really like chocolate like that. And then to have it in hummus, I just feel the gag reflex coming on with that.
Well, once all of this like COVIDness is over and we can do these in person, I can bring the chocolate hummus to you so that you can try it.
You'll have the samples for us, huh?
Yes.
No, there were a couple things that she mentioned, Mitchell, that I thought would be a healthier version of the desserts that you make, for your catering.
Yes.
So like that chocolate hummus, and that you sit on strawberries and pretzels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
because you normally do chocolate covered strawberries and chocolate covered pretzels. So for
Right.
the health conscious person, got to, do the chocolate hummus substitute and see how it goes.
And tell them to dip it themselves, right? They pay me to dip. They pay me to cover the strawberry, not to bring it to them to dunk it.
Right. So
I got to find an alternative to a melted chocolate, a healthier version of that.
Yeah, I don't think
Like
you
I
can
did
melt
for the
that.
egg white substitute, using the chickpea water.
but just again, for the record, something we actually learned probably within the last year, that there is health benefits to chocolate.
Who?
That there's health benefits to chocolate.
Oh yeah, I knew that. The dark chocolate.
Yes,
Yeah.
it has to be dark chocolate. So don't kick it to
All
the
right.
curb.
Well, this has been a great session.
Yes, it has been. Sue, like I said, you know what? She was amazing when I attended her session before. You did a great job tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for having me.
It is our
Thank you
pleasure.
too.
All right. So, no other questions? All right. So you want to let Two get out of here. All right.
Stay safe in the thunderstorm, everyone.
Yes. Well,
You
You
too.
too.
All right, you too.
All right.
Have a
Thanks
good night.
again.
Okay.
Bye.
All
Bye,
right. Good night,
everybody.
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
You kicking me out again, Scoop?
Yep. You are out of here. Yeah,
But you love me.
I do. But the love just went off.